Sam, I would like to ask you, how did you become a flute player? Why? How?
Well, one thing, I guess it just seemed to be, after of course learning, I just didn't take too many lessons, about, say, maybe 6 months, maybe less. As I say, I started to practice a lot, especially, not to make too much noise. I'd be humming along with the notes like this, for instance. Not to make too much noise, see? So that's maybe why I sort of have kind of an airy sound too.
Do you dabble with your voice to practice? In order not to
yes, that way, so I played like this. It made a little bit more of a sound then. You see, so I would do that, and then of course I just found it kind of natural. At that time, the bebop language was coming in, Dizzy and Bird and everything, so I found it was easy for me to just translate some of that stuff on the flute, and just sort of came natural. One of the interesting things, I went to a psychic once, and she said, "You were a flutist in the Royal Orchestra of Spain in your last life." grew up in New York, there's some story about my parents were living in Atlantic City, and I'm a twin. So someone put something in the mailbox, said, if you don't hand over $10,000, we're going to steal one of your twins, or something like that. My parents got really frightened about, worried about something might happen. They never found out who did it. So they moved to New York. So I was born in Atlantic City, and then at 4, I was in New York. And that's kind of where I grew up till I was about 30.
Were your parents musical?
Let me see. My mother just liked to sing around the house occasionally. She had a few tunes that she loved. She used to sing "Ba-boo-be-dee-boo" from a picture. I forgot the name of the picture. Ba-doo-be-doo, bo-doo-bo-dee-bee, ba-doo-be-dee-boo-doo-bo-dee. My father actually, he wasn't a cantor, but he used to sing in the shul, and he had a nice deep voice.
Where were they born?
They were born in Lithuania. So I wanted to tell you a nice little story of my mother with her accent. People would call, and they said, "Hello, Mrs. Moses, is Sam there?" He says, I'm sorry, he's not here, he cut out." So I said, "Oh, Jesus." He said, "Your son is an excellent musician." He says, "I'm hip." This was little, she had like the little of the jazz terminology from picking it up, No one actually entered into music other than, I think they were musical. And then of course my brother was 11 years older, and he was already, when I was growing up, he was on the road with different bands, and I guess I idolized him. So I wanted to, hey, that's what I want to do is,
So you were the first one to pick up an instrument? You just decided to...
Yes. Well, the old story is that they sent the people in public schools sent it out home, and I guess they did this with all the people in the area. Do you want your child to play an instrument? And of course, my folks, being immigrants from Russia, said, "Oh, yes, we're going to have them play an instrument." So I went to the park with my dad, and he asked me what I wanted, and I said I wanted trombone, and he brought me a clarinet. So I don't know, to this day, and never, while he was alive, rest his soul, I don't know if it was that the clarinet was cheaper, or I just couldn't get one, or... So my whole story is I could have been Tommy Dorsey instead of Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw. Growing up in New York, or was it Atlantic City? Where did we grow
Well,
up?
I left Atlantic City around 4. I was 4.
You were 4, so then we got to the Bronx. You inherited my horns after I left
In
because,
fact, this is still on the wall, that clarinet I used to play.
yeah, that's the one you inherited.
Yeah.
That was my first, and I used it professionally for a while before it got back to you.
And then, of course, I think you sent me Selmer from
Oh yeah, what? So
I used
was
to-
the Aldo?
no, the clarinet.
The clarinet.
Wooden one. I finally got. I don't know if you traded it in for something else, but
I don't remember.
I
That
finally
I
got
don't
it.
remember.
That was a good one.
So when did you discover the world of harmony?
Well, strangely enough, I didn't get a piano until I was about 18. They moved it from one apartment next door to my place, and I just loved to have the piano because you could hit chords and so on. But, oh yeah, I think my brother helped me. I said, "How do you improvise?" And he said, "Well, you have the C chord, and you just break it up in different ways, like ba de ba dee da e e e. Then put some other notes in there. But it's just, you break up the chords, and play melodies with the chords or scales." And I said, "Oh, that's how you do it." And then of course they used to have these fake books, with the chord symbols like, I guess it's the E7 to A minor. They go, "So what do you do with that?" So you go ba da dee da ba 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 be, that type of thing, and then you break it up differently. That type of stuff. But I remember first tune I was playing on the piano there, I used to go to, went to like a Y and started playing Maybe You'll Be There. Remember that song? And it was so nice to hear the block chords like George Shearing. I said, wow, chords. First, of course, I was listening. I was 9 years old. I remember tapping to the big bands like Benny Goodman on the radio, and you know, the big bands that were prevalent at the time. And just about, let's say, I was 9, 10, 11, and I started to hear, I guess a little later, 14 or 15, they had this, the bebop came in too. I grew up, he was in the swing era, and then I kind of grew up at the tail end of the swing era into the bebop era. So it's just different vocabularies, but he's great in what he does, you know. One of the great clarinetists of the century, you know. And
and my brother is one of the great flutists of all time. So
thank you.
And he started this the singing and playing at the same time. Which was, I don't know how many people have given you credit for that.
Yeah, I just got a real credit, and his name is Joachim Behrendt. He has a book out, something about jazz. I think he died recently, but he gave me credit for being maybe the one, and some other people, but it's not widely known.
No,
that was the first one. And of course, that was, I think I discussed that before, that one of the reasons why I started to do that was I didn't want to make too much noise, so I played in the closet or on the train and hummed along with what I played, so it didn't make too much noise.
So that started it. At any rate, we weren't that close as far as playing music, because I was already out of the house. I'd already been with little bands, cooperative bands, and been on the road. And then
by the time I was about 10, he was 20 or 21, so he had already been with.
I'd already been with the bands, Les Brown, and 21, I was already made some recordings with Les Brown and did various and sundry things.
I had a little story to tell. I had with, I guess, acetate or one of those things. Anyhow, he played like a great solo on Honeysuckle Rose. Anyhow, one of my friends, I guess 15, 16, 17, I said, that's me. I said, that's me playing instead of you. I said, I used to lie. I said, that's me playing. I don't know. I tried to get away with it. I think I might have confessed later. Says, no, that's really him. And of course, I was listening more to the swing, but then I heard Charlie Parker and the Dizzy, and that was in. And so I kind of said, hey, this is interesting. And that's the vocabulary I kind of grew up with, swing and bebop. It wasn't specific, but I used to hear some of the early Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie stuff, and also Lennie Tristano. And there was some very interesting what they were doing with the extensions, the polytonality, bitonality, and things like that, and all the different rhythms. And the language said, hey, I think I could think in this language. But so that was the difference. Mostly, as I say, he was already doing things, and I got into the swing and the bop, and I was inspired by him, and then admire, the bop players, and it just happened that I kind of felt at home on the flute and started to get notoriety because there weren't too many people doing it. Not anybody playing bop flute that I knew, so that became my thing. It seemed that's what interested me most was the improvisation. When someone would play during the big bands, they'd take a chorus on Stardust. I remember being in the ballroom in the Bronx, Stardust Ballroom, and this tenor player got up and played a solo on Stardust. This is, wow, that's what I want to do. Just play choruses. Improvise. Let's see if I can get it. Let me see. about 17 or so, I went down and there was this beautiful smoke coming out of this club. I think it was the Three Deuces. And I went in there and there was Ben Webster was playing, the tenor. I said, wow, that's what I want to do. It sounded so great, you know. I don't know, I forgot who was playing there, but at the time I used to go down sometime and they had Charlie Parker playing, Errol Garner, Art Tatum, some of the names all along that 52nd Street where they had just some great music going on. So maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. So I heard some of it and I said, gee, this is it. Why do anything else? Is there anything else to do? Used to go to the Catskills about 10 years, like in the summers, and play. And I had a bebop band when I was 17 in the Catskills.
What was the name of the band?
The name of the band? Well,
Sam Most Band?
Sam Most and his Bebop Klezmers. No, I'm just making that up.
There's a wonderful picture of yours in which you are playing with a lady with a bass. So tell me about that picture, please.
Oh, that was, her name was Judy Peters, and I guess, I was playing piano that summer. Maybe some horn too, but the piano, and there was a drummer, and we had 3-part harmony, you know, because that was popular then, like whatever the tunes were. And I sang an inner part or something while I played the piano. And of course, I guess she got the job. She, you know, she didn't play the right notes, but she was blonde. So, so as long as you're blonde and cute and you have a bass, you can get a gig.
I couldn't contest that.
You don't have to know the changes or the harmonies or anything else. Just as long as it sounds. It could be wrong notes, but anyhow, we got by a whole summer. We fooled them. What is the real difference between Artie Shaw and Benny Goodman?
Well, they have that old story, and that's going to be all over the world now.
Yeah.
The real difference, John C. Wells, I got to mention
Yes,
John C. Wells. I used to go through a whole thing because I did the recreations. So, and I had to play Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw, recreate their solos. So, I used to say, Benny does this, Artie does that, and I'd go through a whole big thing. When people ask me, what's the difference? So, John C. Welsh, who had played both, with both Artie Goodman and Benny Shaw, he had played with both. So, he said, hey, why do you go through all that? Why don't you tell them what the real difference is between Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw? And I said, okay, what is the real difference? He said, the real difference between Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw is Lana Turner. So that's...
He uses it on like
I
some
use
of
it
our
whenever we play.
our concerts and everything, and people get a good laugh out of it.
Everybody gets a kick out of that.
When I was 18, I was on the road for about 8 months with Shep Fields,
Mhm.
you know, and well, I guess that was just getting my reading skills together. And then I think my brother got me a chance to play with Tommy Dorsey when I was around 20 or thereabouts. And I didn't have my reading skills quite together because you had to go one tune to another quick and read the phrasing, you know. So anyhow, but he was nice. He would let me play clarinet choruses. Take another one, kid. And he, you know, he liked what I was doing on clarinet, I guess. So I lasted about 2-3 weeks. I was in a club in New York. I think it was Bradley's or one of those famous clubs at the time. I forgot exactly what it was. And so either I was playing or I was just there. And of course, the one that recorded me was Charlie Mingus. He bought the, you know, the first album that came out in debut. So as he was coming in, he was saying, "Hey Sam," he says, "that's the world's greatest jazz flutist." You know, he kind of yelled that out. And so naturally, I was going to take that and keep it as a great compliment. But so I had a friend who was kind of pushed me. He thought I was the next Benny Goodman, and so he got me. We got to do a little, I guess, test recording at one of the famous places that Rudy Van Gelder's studio, and that he did all the great prestige things and Blue Note or whatever. So we did a thing down there, and I had a great band. He helped me get Percy Heath on bass, Louis Bellson on drums. I think Bob Dorough might have been on piano, or Bill Trillia, I forgot. I had one with Herbie Green on trombone and Doug Medemay on trumpet. I think it was a Percy Heath, yeah, and Louis Bellson. So we had a good rhythm section, and I played, I think, clarinet and flute. And he brought the thing to the finished tape that we did at Rudy Van Gelder's to Charlie Mingus. So Charlie Mingus said, oh, I'll put that out, you know, on his recording label Debut. So that was one of the early things that I did. One of the earlier, before that, I think, somehow I did a 45. I guess, what is it, what year was that, 1952? Or so, yeah, I guess, I've forgotten a lot of the details, because it's quite a while, almost 50 years or whatever. And all I know is through my own efforts or someone's efforts, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they came out in Prestige, and of course it was a 45. I don't know whether much happened with it, but so that was the first one. I remember that there was some talk later on, because that was an early use of the flute, 1952, and I don't remember, I think I might have even hummed on it, which a lot of people gave me credit for being the first one. So there weren't too many jazz flutists, so I happened to be, you know, one of the first to start playing bebop around the 50s. And there was, it's hard to find, here and there you find a few people that have that record, Undercurrent Blues. I did, you know, record a lot of those albums in the 50s for Bethlehem.
The Bethlehem record.
Bethlehem Records. Some of them came out in Japan. I think one was called Musically Yours, one was called I'm Nuts About the Most, and then the one with the string quartet was called Amazing Sam Most. And now I understand I'm Nuts About the Most. Did I give you that? Yeah. Sam Most plays Bird, Bud, Miles, and Mock. That's the one that came out in Japan. I'm not sure whether any of the other came out. So those were during the 50s. Other than, of course, you know, I was playing the other horns at the same time, but flute was the thing that I became known for. I used to, I guess in the 50s and 60s, I used to be in the polls, you know, downbeat polls and things. I was in the first 5 or 6 or something. But then I faded out to obscurity. Because if you don't get publicity and things like that, out of sight, out of mind.
That's because music changed?
No, just, yeah, I guess jazz went underground, they say, for a while. Let's see, if you didn't record, you're not on the scene, people don't hear your name or see it in print. That's about it. But 1, 2, 3, 4.
In which year did you come to LA and why?
I think it was around 1960 area. I was working, I guess, with Buddy Rich for about 2.5 years with a small group. We were supposed to get on the bandstand, and anyhow, I was late. It's pitch dark, and they're announcing, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the outstanding, the greatest drummers in the world, Buddy Rich. And so you hear, I was late and I had overturned things in the bandstand, and you hear all these things, crashing down, and then Buddy said, "You're fired." That's the story. Yeah. And traveled all around strange places like South America and Nepal and Indonesia. That was interesting. And I guess after that, I think the band disbanded around 1960 area. And I guess my brother was successful in the studios. There was a lot of pictures being made. He was there at 20th Century Fox for about 17 years, made all the pictures. So my mother said, like, things are pretty slow here. Why don't you take a chance and go out to the coast? And my brother said, "Yeah, come on out here, give it a try." So I did pack up and came out here. I gave it a try, and I never got back. I used to say, "I'm just visiting here for 30 years. I don't live here."
I was in the studios in 1950. I came off of Les Brown's band. And in 1950, I went out to Fox Studios when the people at Fox, who I happened to have met in the Army Air Corps, who knew me and some other people in the band. So I was there at Fox, and then later on, you came out and we started a little bit working together here and there.
So Sam, what were some of the stuff at 20th Century Fox? Some of the MGM. What were some of the gigs that your brother got for you?
I got a few things that when I first came in, he helped me get. I think my first thing with Felix Slatkin, who was conducting.
Yes.
And I wasn't quite experienced to follow me a conductor. That wasn't my background. So I usually tell people, I say, if you make a few things where you don't meet the test, and people start saying, "Oh, he's a great jazz player, but he's not really experienced in that." So. And I got some other opportunities, but he helped me get with, as I say, a few things in the studios, and what else? The Tommy Dorsey thing. And then I left. I was here for a while, and wasn't too much happening. I got a call to go with Red Norvo. I was working with Red Norvo in Las Vegas, and Frank Sinatra used to come in a lot of times, because he worked at the Sands. And he came in a few times and said, "Hey, Sam, you're blowing your ass off." I said, "Hey, that's great. He likes me." Anyhow, we happened to play in Palm Springs, which has a home there, Frank Sinatra. So he came into the Rimrocks and said, "You're sounding great. Why don't you guys come over to my place, in Palm Springs?" And so we went over there, and in fact, I played piano for him on Ladies of Tramp. So he sang a little bit, and he came. I said, "Sam, I want you to see something." He says, "What?" He says, So he takes this case out, and I open the case and I says, "Gee, that looks great. Wow, what is that?" He said, "I know you'd appreciate it. It's yours." I said, "What?" I couldn't sleep that night. I said, "Wow, Frank Sinatra gave me a flute." And he says, "Well, I used to use it like for breath control, practice breath control. But it's Rudel Cart made in England." So anyhow, I was flipped out. Wow. No, I used to play with Red Norvo at the Sands. It sounded good, I guess it's maybe needs some work to really sound as good as it could, but it has a nice wooden thing to it. So I've kept it all these years.
Let's see, it was 1953, I think, when I actually first met you, but not in New York. in a little burg known as, what was that little burg? Oh yeah, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Right.
What's the guy's name from Birdland?
Oscar Goodstein.
Oscar Goodstein. How did he get you a gig in the Daytona Beach Hotel? I thought he just operated on Manhattan.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know who his connection was.
Well, anyway, he had one.
But yeah, so I was, used to play at Birdland on some of the Monday nights,
Yeah.
and it was just, I guess. He came over once and said, would you like to go to get a jazz group, and go down to Daytona Beach for the summer?
Well, Bethlehem sent me a CD of past sessions, and you're on there with Herbie Mann. What is a standard, Just in Time or some?
But in the compilation?
It's a compilation of not just you, but various people. I think
people.
Connie Candoli, there's several people. But you're on there when you and Herbie had the quintet. Whatever happened to that quintet? I mean,
I guess
people went different ways.
Yeah, I think it was just a one-time recording thing. I think we worked a few gigs. In fact, we worked a gig in Toronto Town Tavern with Carmen McRae.
Did you? You mean playing flutes?
Playing
Oh,
flutes.
you mean a different?
She was with us.
As a singer on the quintet?
Yeah.
Really?
I believe that was one of the things. Carol Kay, the bass player, had a publishing company. She had was looking for different people. I think Joe Pass did some, and Claire Fisher for the same company. When I wrote the Jazz Flute Conceptions, I was trying to get some endorsements. I thought that would help sell the book, especially for flute players. So I did contact all these flute players and said, "Do you want to say something nice?" So all these quotes that I have there was just to say for the Jazz Flute Conceptions. I said, "Can you say anything nice?" Musical teeth, Paul Horn, not James Buddy, Hubert Laws. Did I leave out somebody?
Roland Kirk?
Roland Kirk, oh yeah.
Joe Farrell?
Joe Farrell, oh yeah. Anyhow, I came up with this book called Metamorphosis, Transformation of the Jazz Song, Sam Oaks, written in the 70s. I think it took me about 6 months, and it seems like I got really good critical acclaim from a lot of people, just to mention a few people that liked it, particularly guitar players like Joe Dorough. When it first came out, he says, "Well, that's one of the best books I've ever seen. I'd like to use it for my students." And then Ron Eshtay said that's one of the great books. I forgot, but along the way he says, "Oh, that's a great book." He says, "I look at it every day, like the Bible or something." Anyhow, so then after many years, this was, I say, in the 70s somewhere, I got a call from Warner Brothers Music and said, "Hey, I think we can give that book new life. We'll put a CD with it." And of course, so it came out as Jazz Improvisation, the best way to develop solos over classic changes by Sam Oaks. I was a little disappointed that they left out significant things in about 19 pages in the beginning and also the end, because they figured, oh, people know that already, which is not true. A lot of people don't know what I put in there. And so I think it would have been stronger, but still it holds up. As I say, people have gotten a lot of comments that they love the book because it's one of the best books on the subject. I wish they would have concluded that. But so those are the few things. Jazz Flute Conceptions, and it was originally Metamorphosis, and this is the latest incarnation as Jazz Improvisation. I still see it in the stores, so I hope it'll stay around a while. I think I sent some things to Don Schlinton, Xanadu Records, a little tape, and he said, "Yeah, let's do something." And that's when I got a chance to do around 4 albums for Xanadu.
Yeah, with Tal Farlow. One of them.
Oh yeah, the first one had Tal Farlow, Billy Higgins, Duke Jordan, Sam Jones. As I say, I didn't record until about the 70s when I sent a cassette to Don Schlinton, and he was into stuff, and so he was interested, and I did four albums for Xanadu in the 70s. Musically, mostly flute, that was the first one, and then I forgot what came next, but Flute Fly, Flute Talk with Joe Farrell, and From the Attic of My Mind.
If you were to mention Sam, how would you describe his music to that person who had never heard him?
Well, in the first place, it swings, which is the most essential ingredient as far as I'm concerned. But then, outside of the swing, when you hear Sam play, there are certain nuances that Sam uses that become his own personal style. And then, of course, we were talking about the humming into the flute. And I think I told Sam once when we were talking about him making a recording, I had the ideas on it. I said, well, you know, this humming thing is a commercial sound also. And to use the master of that, maybe if not the first, but one of the first for sure to do that. And that's another aspect of his technical command. We talked about a certain gentleman who seemed to be not
Biding his time.
biding his time, not keeping up to speed when it came to reissuing what Sam had done on LP to CD. I was so happy when finally out comes Mostly Flute. And then, that's the one with Tal, isn't it? Tal Farlow and Duke Jordan.
Sam Jones.
And I have that.
That's Don Schlitten's production.
Don Schlitten.
Well, I didn't want to.
I understand someone said that he's also putting out a compilation, and I have the Humming Blues he used to play.
Oh, yeah.
I think the compilation saw him on one or two tracks.
Another one that you did that I still play occasionally, the LP, the Hot House track.
Samuel
with Joe Farrell.
The flute talker.
Yeah, I'd love to see
I think
that.
that's out in Japan too, but not here. As a CD.
What do you think about when you improvise? What generally goes through your mind when you're going off on a tangent? You know, when you're.
I tried to, I guess, get the feeling of who I'm playing with and so on, and try to pick some good notes, and usually if it's that context, supposed to try to swing, meaning get it into a good groove, and try to create a good musical line, almost like a sentence instead of run-on sentences. Like, but I went to the park the other day, and every time I was getting, I think I'll go to say, and then when I spoke to him, I tried to make some sense, just like you would in English. Said like, here I am discussing things pertaining to an interview, and now I'm gonna play this line, and then, as I say, trying to lead out certain things that are extraneous, and make it have some symmetry of your own type of symmetry or whatever it is. So that's what I kind of think about. And of course, when you have certain harmonic changes, I kind of probably either think of that, what I can do with it, which is related to, knowing your scales and your intervals and everything. And throughout the years, you find your own patterns, and it's almost like your own way of speaking. So if you have like a G7th, I know I can do different scale things on that and break up the thing and do, I can do certain things because that chord has a certain sound, and so you have to kind of develop your ear too, and the ear and the mind, so that you can connect what chord to another musically, with using the intervals, the scales, your own feeling, and trying to get emotion into it, and the intellect. I don't know whether I was consciously emulating, but I did like, I like the Charlie Parker and the Lee Konitz and alto, and more tenor players, and like Ben Webster and Coleman Hawkins, and so as I say, not so much emulation. I think I mentioned it before, a thing I had read in the book about Clark Terry, and he said in this book, what is it? Can't think of it now. Other than first you imitate, and then this is it: imitate, assimilate, then innovate. So first you emulate. I might have tried to get some of Stan Getz' phrases the way he does it, or Lee Konitz. This is called was transcription. I didn't do too much of it, but there might have been a record or two when he was playing with Lennie Tristano, Lee Konitz, and Charlie Parker solo, or not so much since I was playing more alto then. But I remember when I was 12, I was singing, trying to scat the Coleman Hawkins solo on Body and Soul, whatever he was playing, and. So first you emulate certain phrases, and then you try to get your own thing. You assimilate what they did as best you can through listening a lot, and then try to innovate. And that's probably the sequence. Until you kind of say, I guess this is me. I mean, everything that you absorbed, and you come out with your own perspective.
A lot of people think Sam is the greatest scat singer.
Oh yeah, thanks.
In captivity.
Very good comments on
and
that.
they don't say, everybody comes to me and says, boy, Sam really scats. Boy, he's a great scat singer.
It's a whole other pronunciation of words.
I believe it comes from, no, I didn't really know. I just had a theory that I think my parents were from Lithuania or Russia. And I used to hear things like, and I figured I might as well throw that into the scat,
Say what?
maybe it has something to do with hearing those strange dialects or something.
Could be. I mean,
But a combination of
can't
bebop
disagree
and
with you.
Russian, maybe.
Well, then, how do you?
No, it's a strange theory, you know.
I actually met Sam without meeting him in person in 1960 probably. I went to the Hot Club of Montevideo in Uruguay, which was a fantastic jam session place. There was a tape library from the State Department. And one of the tapes says Sam Most Quartet. So I asked the guys, can I borrow this? And I went to my home, I had a tape recorder, and I put that tape, and my concept of flute changed forever. I was playing flute already, but I never heard someone playing like him, because he was like Charlie Parker of the flute, incredible. So immediately I went into the challenge of obtaining his records. It was not easy in Argentina where I lived to get Sam's records. Finally ended up ordering by mail and getting some of his Bethlehem albums in which he played flute and clarinet, but his flute really was absolutely, and is still today, absolutely incredible. So I said, well, someday I have to meet him, and someday I have to do something with him because he's so fantastic, so superb. And he became my idol, my flute idol. I played flute, and I think he was the absolute greatest. Many years later, and after different circumstances in my life, I ended up living in the States. And one day I went to a party.
Oh, yeah. Well, just to say, I hadn't met Fernando. He was a fan in Argentina for many years. And I think I met him at Bar Mitzvah somewhere. And he said, I met a fan of yours. He says, maybe we'll do something. We'll try to do something together. Or, hey, great. I hadn't been recording for a while, since the Xanadu, I think. So I think it was 1985 or thereabouts.
I started producing records here in 1983. In 1986, I called Sam and told him, Sam, we got a job. We got to do something. Let's record an album, piano and flute. Let's do it with Frank Colette, whom also I met in Buenos Aires before coming to the United States. I told him, someday I'll call you in the States. I met him at a jam session. So I said, let's do something with you and Frank, a duo. I called Phil Sheridan, the engineer from Canada. This is absolutely incredible, Phil Sheridan. So we rented Sage and Sound.
And so we said, let's try this thing with Frank Collette, and you and Frank Collette, duo.
So we started to prepare the album with Sam, and thinking of tunes. So I told him, why don't we write a tune together? So we wrote Any Time, Any Season, which is the title of the album. So, and we also thought of other tunes. I was, and I still am. He's not with us anymore. Friend of Henry Mancini. And I thought I would like to, play one of these songs in the album. So we recorded Days of Wine and Roses, and then some other classic jazz songs.
And anyhow, we did that, and like I said, he said, "Hey, this sounds great. We're going to go to London." He had Jorge Calamgelli and some other three other arrangers put on the strings to it.
It was sort of perhaps a crazy idea, but I thought in my mind it should sound great. So I called Jorge Calandrelli, who's a very talented musician, and I gave him the first choice of tunes. So he heard the tunes and said, I want to do Any Time, Any Season. And later he got a Grammy nomination for that arrangement, which ended up in our record, Any Time, Any Season. I called Dorica Imi in Brazil, the famous singer and composer and arranger, Dorica Imi, and told him, Dori, shall we do something? We've been friends for many years. And one song I think I'll call Someone Different, which I know is very good and would fit with the style. I called Christian Chevalier in France. So I sent everybody their materials, say, okay, where can we record the strings? And at the time it was cheaper to record in London. I asked Phil Sheridan if he would come. He said, yeah, sure. ready anytime. I asked Jorge Calandrelli, will you conduct? Then we all flew to London, and with the UK Orchestra at the Wembley Studios, we recorded the strings over the piano and flute. And that was the album, which is something very unique for Sam to do. He's never done an album. I love it.
And still holds up beautifully. I guess I listened to it somewhere in the last and great to have something with strings, you know.
Sam has everything. Sam is the epitome of the bebop player. So if you like bebop and you like flute, that's Sam Bebop, and the flute is just one single name.
Now, of all your recordings, you said you have about 12 albums worth of recordings. What, in your opinion, is your favorite recording?
I like fragments of each. I think I like the a flute flight. We did some rehearsing with that, and I like the From the Attic of My Mind. I think it went back to New York and had Kenny Barron and some other people, and that was especially, I like the first one cut on there. It's called What Is, and so let's say not always the whole album, but that was a nice cut. Although I've heard people say that's their favorite album. And then Lou Levy, who was on the Flute Flight, said, "Hey, that's your best album." So I don't know. I think I like both of those, and of course, the flute thing with Joe Farrell. I liked, some of the things we did. Not the whole thing completely of any of the albums, maybe, but yeah. So I liked a little bit of each. The first one I did. I like some things I did on clarinet more than the flute things. I was a little either nervous or too notey. But then the other ones haven't come out yet. I asked Don Glidden, I says, when is the other one's going to come out? And he said, if we live long enough.
About this, you still practice?
I do spend some time. I like to spend time on the piano.
There's another aspect of Sam's career. You know, one time when we were talking before we went on, up in Lake Tahoe, and I was walking into the Safeway.
Oh, yeah.
I keep bumping into this guy all over the world, you know. And I hear this voice, "Hey, Chuck, it's Sam Most." He's in a phone booth. Calling your agent. Get me out of here. No. But anyway, you were up there just playing solo piano, right? Or did you?
I might have done something
Well, that's what you said.
With the trio or something. Maybe I was playing solo piano.
You've
I don't
never
know. I think
lied
it was
to
a
me,
gift.
Sam. I mean,
I've
it's
never
a poor
lied.
place to start, in front of all these people like this.
When's you playing it? That's what I'd like to do, like before a gig. Probably an old thing about, what's that? Yasha Hyven said, if I don't play every day, like the first day I notice it, second day somebody else notices it, the third day the people notice it, It's like the type of thing like you have to go through your thing. It's almost like saying hello. It's like if I don't say hello to the instruments, they say, "Hey, you didn't say hello to me. I'm not going to sound too good." So you have to kind of say hello to everybody. And usually, could be anywhere from 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, to maybe sometimes longer. Unless to say hello, blow a few notes or a few scales or some things that you might go through the different keys or
Are you usually nervous before you perform, or It just comes
Not
natural.
generally. Because if it's a big concert, a lot of people, you might get maybe certain venues. I don't know how it's going to be, for instance. Hopefully I get to Rome, Italy. I don't know what the scene is there, but it's probably a little bit like excitement, like the actors say they have little stage fright, little jitters, but it's supposed to be good instead of just like indifferent, That's good. Let's say a little preparation of different things that you have to do. Truthfully, I haven't done too many festivals, and I think I did recently. I did just me and Doug McDonald. We did Idlewild. I think it was a little festival, but someone who does a lot of festivals. I think it was Alvin Queen, drummer, told me, "Oh, it's getting to be like more like I don't know if he used the word like a circus, meaning." Act 1, Act 2 comes on, Act 3 comes on. Maybe there's more rock or more thing. It's not so much like playing in the clubs, but then you usually make more money on the festival. So, but he was saying, it's not as great as maybe playing in the clubs, but it's not maybe always that rewarding. You do your thing, then you get off. I remember going to Montreux and doing the stage. You have your hour, it's like Shakespeare said, you have the hour in the sun, then you disappear. I was working in Toronto, and there was a fellow there by the name of Paul Grosny who I guess got me to work there for a week or two. I forget what it was. And so he said, "You want to come up to see Oscar Peterson? He's doing some project recordings." I said, "Yeah." So I came up there to this project where Oscar Peterson was, and he said, "Oscar, this is Sam Mose." He says, "Oh, Sam," he says, "I've been a fan of yours for years." I was surprised, Oscar telling me that he's been a fan of mine, so that was a big thrill. Another few things that I had, I got some little cards after performing with Tony Bennett. I think it was Lake Tahoe. He said something like, "Sam, you're superb," or something like that, or "just perfect." And the same thing with Peggy Lee. He says, "You're brilliant," things. So I had some nice. I used to have some flute solos in the show, whatever. So I had some nice compliments.
So
we've been doing something throughout the years. The Mose Brothers.
We used to be Chadneys and
Chadneys.
all that. And usually you say Abe and Sam Mose.
And of course,
this time they didn't just looked at my bio and put Abe Mose, but
he always wants to make sure I get credit. He's always looking out for me.
Yes.
One thing
Big
is,
Brothers are 4.
Yeah,
that's right.
But hey, he got me on helped me get on the Sacramento Jazz Festival and the Sweet and Hot Festival.
Yeah.
So we're
doing
that this
both
year.
of those this year. One is May, and at the end of May, and one is beginning of September.
Then he's got his big band, which I'm part of, going to Japan for 20 days in September, right?
For 18 shows, yes. September.
This year?
This year, yeah.
22nd.
We were there a few years ago for 11 days, I think.
Well, I
It's
know,
11 days.
about a week.
We did about a week. Anyhow,
Well,
that was
probably by the time we finished, it was 11 days. But this year, this is almost a month, doing 18
has,
shows over
a big.
around Tokyo, various and sundry places. I don't know all the cities. I have it in another room, but
So let's talk about your daily routine here.
Yeah, I used to belong to a thing that was in Encino, 10 minutes away, called the Bally's, holiday spa, but like all good things that came to an end, they tore it up, or some other thing moved in there for one reason or another. So it feels good when you exercise. You have to keep your body in shape to play well, just like an athlete too, or something like it. Anyhow, I like to every day go out. This is just about 10 minutes away, Balboa Park and the lake here, and just walk around. It takes 20 minutes to walk around, or a half hour if you stop at another place. And just most of the time, either listening to some cassettes that I made, or else Chuck Niles on the KLOM jazz station. And sometimes they play some great things, and you say, wow, this is great. And you're walking around, and it's beautiful days, and right near the trees and the lake, and as I say, it's not too far to go to, and just walking. And then I stop along the way. There's a little place there, the waterfall up here. I do 9 push-ups for some reason. I pick 9. Not too much, not too little. And I do the push-ups, and then I keep walking, and that's it. Get up an appetite for eating.
This is therapeutic for you?
Well, I guess it is. Meaning it's I look forward to it, and also if I don't get that walk in, it's like something's missing. I like to definitely. It just makes you feel good. You have to keep breathing as a flute player. It's good for you. So.
Well, there is a language in jazz. It's extremely difficult to explain with words. It's a language. And for those who like Charlie Parker, Clifford Brown, Kenny Dorham, and many other soloists that have an incredible harmonic sense, they do play and with and around the chords of each song, no matter how difficult. And some did that. Some was like playing flute is like Coltrane playing saxophone, or Clifford Brown playing trumpet, or Charlie Parker playing sax.
When he told me he was self-taught for the most part on the piano, that made it even more extraordinary, because now we're talking about the full orchestra, 88 keys. And to do that mostly out of just with his ears and his innate talent is another remarkable side of Sam. So he's been a good friend for a long time, and believe it or not, it all began in Florida. Then I saw him for a minute in New York when I was there, and then here we are. Gee whiz, I came out here in 1956, and Sam, I think, came out in the 60s sometime. But even that is a long time ago. But it's been a real nice experience, and I like playing his music on the radio.
I think I've heard it many times, even on the various other instruments that I play, that I have a unique identity, which is good, because I know there are a lot of people today, as I say, great players, but I don't know who they are. There's one thing that I've heard often is, you can play like a few bars and I know it's you. And so it's just Sam Moe's the flute player, bi'bop flute player, or whatever. It's just I think I do have my own voice, which is what lot of musicians strive for. So that's who I am as Sammo's musical person comes out through the different instruments, and maybe particularly through the flute. Seems to be my voice.
How would you like to be remembered?
I actually haven't thought about it too much, other than it's just, I guess, someone who had my little stay here on Earth. I don't know what's happening afterwards for sure, and just try to be a thoughtful, I guess maybe great improviser, and particularly, well, not any of the instruments, and just something remembered was like a great musician or a great improviser. I guess that's might be put it. Sammo's a great improviser, a great jazz musician. I think here I am. I don't believe it. I'm almost going to be 70, and I'm still trying to be good, and play some good, pick out some good notes, and entertain people, and entertain myself, and try to do something that what I like, and that I'm proud of when I finish playing or a gig or whatever. And I hope that happens on the recordings too. So I guess it'd probably just be remembered as a great musician, great jazz flutist, and what else can you hope for other than, of course, a good person. There's a tape, and this guy says, "What did Duke Ellington ever write?"